Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we'll be focusing on the recent activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the past week, and of course the boosting of cooperation ties and the bilateral ties between Egypt and several countries from all over the world. And more specifically, tonight we'll be speaking about the video conference or the video meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin on boosting cooperation and boosting the bilateral trade and the bilateral ties in general, politically and economically, in the upcoming few months. And tonight I'm honored to be having with me in the studio Mr. Khaled Heib, the head of the International Cooperation Committee at the National Council for Strategic Planning. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine. We'll be starting straight away with a report about the recent video conference or the video meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Malaysian Prime Minister. More information in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said that Egypt welcomed opening new horizons for cooperation with Malaysia in different fields, especially in the commercial and industrial fields. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi said that President al-Sisi's remarks came during a video conference call earlier last week with Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin. During the virtual encounter, the two sides probed means of fostering bilateral ties and exchanged views on the most prominent regional and international issues of mutual concern. The call tackled ways to boost cooperation between Egypt and Malaysia with regard to countering terrorism and extremist thought, as well as cooperation in religious education. They also explored the possibility for luring further Malaysian investments into Egypt, given the great privileges and incentives provided by the Egyptian government in various sectors, notably the auto industry, electronics, and energy. For his part, the Malaysian Prime Minister said that his country looks forward to cementing ties and cooperation with Egypt in several areas, mainly the economic, industrial, commercial, and educational ones, noting the significant importance in the Egyptian investment climate. The pair shared opinions about regional and international issues of mutual concern, notably the Palestinian cause and efforts to achieve peace in the Middle East. In this regard, the Malaysian Prime Minister praised Egypt's endeavors that led to stopping escalations between Palestinian factions and Israel in the Gaza Strip, as well as Egyptian initiative to rebuild the enclave. Yassin also lauded the efforts led by Egypt to urgently relaunch the Palestinian and Israeli peace talks with the aim of reaching a fair solution to the long-running conflict in accordance with international terms.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and the main focus for tonight, as we did see in the past report, the video conference meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Muhyiddin Yassin, not just about the economy or politics, but the different causes or the different issues that we share a common concern between Egypt and Malaysia. And as I said in the beginning, Mr. Khaled Heib is here tonight in the studio. Mr. Khaled, of course, thank you very much once again for being with us tonight.
Well, they're welcome.
First of all, how do you assess the long-standing ties between Egypt and Malaysia, especially after such a video conference meeting?
Definitely, it's a defining moment in the relation between the two countries. I don't want to say it's coming in the right time. And if we go back in the past couple of months and we watch the steps and the moves politically which was done by President al-Sisi, starting from drawing the red line insert in Libya, marking our territory with Sudan, the African countries of the Nile Valley completely, saying that the Gulf area, especially the Emirates and the Gulf countries, is a strategic depth for Egypt. The move they're talking about going to Malaysia is strategically very, very important on a completely different level. It is one of the most strongest economies in the world. We have very strong ties between Egypt and Malaysia historically. You will be surprised that maybe the prime ministers and most of the ministers are Azhar graduates. So we have sentimental values and relations. Egypt has a very soft part in their hearts. And stepping that move and starting to regain back this relation with Malaysia is very, very important. We have one of the most strongest tigers from Asia, willing to invest heavily in Egypt, and especially in the canal zone. And they've been saying that for a long time to bring investments regarding making mega electronic facilities in that area. So there's a lot to be done between Egypt and Malaysia in the automobile industry, in the electronics, and also in the branch of fuel under petroleum. So it is very, very, very important move, and we will be watching very closely the outcomes economically, which could really nourish the two countries.
Yes, Mr. Khaled, last time we met, we were talking about Djibouti and the historic visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. How do you see the foreign policy file under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Foreign Minister Samah Shukri, not just in Africa or the neighboring countries or the Arab world, but in Malaysia now, as we can see?
As we started right now, everything is calculated very clearly, and the moves are calculated very wisely. Definitely under His Excellency President Sisi, things are going forward steady and surely. There is no doubt that the Foreign Minister Samah Shukri is doing an outstanding, great job. He is following his father's steps, one of the biggest diplomats in the Egyptian history. So I'm not surprised of the outcome. What I'm really looking is how to capitalize on what's happening right now. They are, the Malaysian, since a while, watching what's happening in Egypt and looking vigorously to invest in Egypt. Economically, we are giving a message. Yes, we have countries around us which are brotherhoods, and we welcome their investments in Egypt. But now we're saying we also would love to open our market to new investments from Asia. The move is strategically very wise, and everyone who's looking to what's going on is going to calculate what's happening. Malaysia is very heavy. It's not a small country. The economy is very, very aggressive, and they really want to invest in Egypt. It is one of the biggest returns on the investments right now in Egypt. And we have a lot to also learn and gain from the expertise and from their experiment and how they started and where they are right now.
Yes. When did the bilateral ties in general between Egypt and Malaysia start, and how did they develop over the years, and more specifically under the tenure of President al-Sisi in the past 7 years?
It goes back between Egypt. It goes back in the history since the beginning of the spread of Islam to that part of Asia. And since then, Al-Azhar have a very, very soft part in their hearts. And this is the, how I can say it, is the soft diplomacy. Okay.
Yes.
So we have our weight in these Asian Muslim countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. It is just because of Al-Azhar and its moderate message.
Yes.
And also, it is the same weight which we do have with the Western African countries.
Yes.
Like when you talk about Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Conakry, Mali, you name it. In this area, it is the soft diplomacy which is gonna put us back again. So it is very, very wise and important. And the Prime Minister of Malaysia mentioned it in the video conference as the role of Al-Azhar and what it can do. So the ties has been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. It became very strongly at the end of becoming the Malaysian independence and making their confederacy in I think, 1959, and with the relation which started to happen between them and President Nasser. And from then, it started getting much more stronger and stronger over the years.
On the other hand, speaking of the economic cooperation, the possible investments by the Malaysian investors in Egypt in the upcoming years and in the past few years, what were the main areas of interest for the Malaysian investors?
I can say the number one will be on their agenda. It's going to be the electronics. And when I say here electronics, is not manufacturing the TVs and laptops. No. It is the chips, the processors of the computers. Especially, we have one of the core, and we have the raw materials. We have the finest pure sand, which we export to be manufactured for that. So we do have this in Egypt, especially in the area of Ras Gharib and other areas. But we do have this sand here, and we are in the middle of the world. The Suez Canal and our geographic location will help market these goods worldwide. Especially also we have the manpower, we have the engineers, we have the graduates. All what we need is just the blueprint and someone who led to come and invest here. And I know that they would love to invest in this very, very high volume investments here in Egypt. And it needs a lot of resources, but it's definitely going to change the electronic manufacturing in Egypt completely, doing the electronic chips here in Egypt.
Yes, you've also mentioned the Suez Canal Economic Zone. The idea itself of having an economic zone,
Yes.
an access around the Suez Canal. How do you see such an idea and the implementation of it? As you've mentioned that Malaysia is interested to be investing there, Russia is interested in investing there, China is interested
definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
How do you see the idea itself and the possible or the potential investments that could be drawn to it?
The idea by far is I can say it's going to put Egypt in a completely different level. But the whole thing is it needs to be planned really very, very well, because it is only one Suez Canal in the world, and that's where everybody meets. So it needs great planning, strategic planning, what can be in it, which countries, how they define it, what industries we need to be in it.
It's not just about the Suez Canal, it's about the people operating the Suez Canal
Yes.
and the Egyptians operating, as there was
Definitely.
a huge problem.
Yes, Yes.
a few months or a few weeks ago, and we've managed to be solving it in a matter of hours or days.
That's absolutely true. And because this is going to completely reshape the Egyptian economic agenda and where Egypt stands economically in the world. The Suez Canal zone, or this area, is by far it is going to be the greatest ever project to be done on the Egyptian soil, and you can see that the planning is going toward that direction in very calculated steps, because we need the population to move toward that area. So now we have the new capital, which is going to be about 45 minutes from the canal zone. It's going to draw a lot of the population to be in this area. Then now there's a couple of more cities is going to be between the new capital and Ismailia and Suez. So the supply to this area from the human factor is going to be there.
Could be drawing citizens from Port Said, Ismailia, Suez,
from all over Egypt.
Sharqiyya.
From all over Egypt.
Yes.
When they go and settle in this area, with this,
especially with the tunnels.
With the
We have new tunnels
and
now.
with the highways and with the map. When you see the map, there is not a single point in Egypt now you can have difficulty to reach it, and that's why I'm telling you it was built in very steady steps. So a person who can say, oh, this highway, this circle highways, then the regional highway, and this mega highways, 8 lanes, 6 lanes. It is not for today's traffic. Definitely it's for the coming 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So with all of this infrastructure being done in place,
and even the congestion of traffic within the cities has eased.
Has eased, definitely. I come from Heliopolis to here in half an hour. I remember when I was in your age, it took us 2 hours to come to do that traffic. So when you have the population and we have these highways and you have the infrastructures, it's been all newly done, it's going to be very easy to tell the mega investors, we need to develop this area. And now you can ask the price tag you want. Because before, oh, I want to come here, oh, but there is no roads, there is no this, there is no that.
They get value for money.
Yes.
They invest, but they get double of their investments or even more.
Everything is being laid and done. So you will see people like Malaysia, the US definitely would love to have a big chunk in this area for its manufacturers. China definitely is gonna need a part here. So it was planned correctly, and we are moving towards that. So with that tie till now, we were talking about Djibouti and the Nile Valley, then the marking the territory, and now we are in something I would say we would look into and follow what the Malaysian did. The Malaysian they were self-financed.
Yes.
Okay, one of the things they did, they said, okay, we're gonna forget what everybody, how he make his money from where it is and whatever. And they made that small island, whoever goes over there and open a bank account, everybody is welcome from the world. So a lot of finance came. It is almost like a free zone. And when you see it, and you get a free zone by definition, you will not find a place like the Suez Canal area and Port Said and Egypt as a whole to be a place where all the money of the world should be.
Yes, of course, we'll be continuing to speak about the Malaysian investments in Egypt and the video conference meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin after this short break, so stay tuned.